You've probably seen athletes using all sorts of recovery tools, from compression boots to ice baths to saunas, foam rollers, you name it. And you may wonder, what of these is actually worth my time and what of these have the best results? Well, let's take a look at and see what is worth spending your time on. Let's start with foam rolling. Foam rolling is something you'll see people doing all the time at the gym, whether it's before they train, maybe when they're done to help recover. You may have a foam roller of your own that you use at home on your recovery days. And like most things I talk about today, the research is mixed. There is a lot of research that says it helps with maybe short-term stiffness and a little bit of recovery by bringing blood flow to the tissues. And there's some that says it really doesn't make a whole lot of a difference. So when it comes down to it, if you use it and you see that it feels good and that you feel like you get a benefit out of it, then go for it. If you don't notice much of a difference with it, but you're just doing it because, hey, you think you should and somebody told you once that you should, maybe it's not the most important thing in the world, because whatever modality you use, you should feel a benefit out of it. Now, should I ice or should I heat? These are questions I get all the time from my patients, and it really depends on the situation. There's research saying that each of those has benefits, but it does depend on the situation. So if you're coming off an injury, let's say you're coming off a knee injury and you're starting to ramp up the intensity of your exercise, you just played a pickup basketball game, well, it could be a good idea to ice that knee afterwards so that it doesn't get too puffy or irritated on you. But if you're healthy, you've been in a good place for a little bit of time, you don't necessarily have to do something like that. And if you like going to cryotherapy or doing ice tubs, yeah, there is some research that says it does help reduce that global inflammation, enhance recovery, those sorts of things. But we also want to ask ourselves if that's something we need in the first place. There's a time and place for everything. But sometimes a certain amount of inflammation is a good thing because it helps stimulate and facilitate recovery. So unless anything's excessive, you may not have to implement those things. But if you like to do it, it helps you feel maybe a little bit more alert. You feel better after the fact and you feel like you can maybe bring it a little more in subsequent workouts, then go for it. A lot of times you're going to know your body the best, and you can go a little bit by how you feel in these situations, but don't feel like it's something you have to do on the cold front if you don't have a specific issue or injury you're working through maybe at that moment. Now, when it comes to heat, again, it can improve flexibility by increasing blood flow, maybe help sort of flush out some of that, those toxins and inflammation you sort of feel in those areas. And if you notice a result, of course, after the fact, go ahead and do it. Now, if you feel like you just doing it because you are told that, hey, this is something good for you and maybe sweating things out is great and you don't have a specific injury that you're dealing with in the moment, probably isn't something you necessarily have to do, because there's other tools out there in your toolbox that you can use that may be more effective. Compression therapy, such as the Normatec boots that you may see some people wearing as they're lounging back in a chair, are gaining a lot of popularity these days. They work by pumping air into the different chambers of the boot to promote increased blood flow and help with maybe some of that inflammation that people may experience after workouts and help them recover for subsequent workouts in the future. And there is research to say that this does work. Now, is it something that you need to go out and purchase for yourself or find a gym that offers this? Not necessarily, because again, there's other modalities out there that we've talked about that are maybe more common, easier to implement, and can produce some similar results. Finally, my favorite type of recovery is an active recovery. Now, instead of sitting around at home watching TV, the best thing you may be able to do is get moving. So hop on a piece of cardio equipment for maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes. Get that blood pumping a little bit, raise that body temperature up. That's going to facilitate a lot of good new blood flow to come in, pump out the old stuff that may have some of that inflammation still there, helping to stimulate that recovery for subsequent workouts coming up. I remember when I worked with professional athletes, every Wednesday they would come in, they would hop on that piece of cardio equipment for 10 to 20 minutes. Then we would take them through a movement session, which usually took about 10, 15 minutes, where they would actively elongate the muscles that may be experiencing some soreness, then getting them to be feeling better for subsequent workouts. So on your off days, maybe implement a 20, 30-minute recovery session, get a little bit warm, do some drills that help if you feel better, maybe that your favorite stretches, mobility exercises, hopefully things we have taught you, and see how you feel coming into the next session. All the tools we discussed today have a time and a place, but let's not forget about the basics. Nutrition, sleep, exercising in a consistent, smart way, and managing our stress. That makes up 90% of the results we're talking about. The best recovery tool in the world won't make a difference if we're not addressing those, so let's make sure we're spending the majority of our focus on those areas. And as always, if you're looking for personalized solutions to feel better, move better, and conquer your workouts coming up, contact us via the link in the description below. We would love to help you.